Today, joining us on the show this afternoon is a panel of gentlemen. I will introduce them to you, our viewers, as I begin from my extreme left. Extreme of my left is Honorable Philip Emrut. He's a former student of Kyambogo University. He's a visual artist. He does a lot of business around artwork, but he is also a concerned youth advocate and Ugandan who is so passionate about leadership and governance. You are most welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Wow. Coming towards my right from the Honorable Philip Emrut is my own brother, Honorable Molly Bryan. Honorable Molly Bryan is from the foundation, is a founder of the Advocacy for Youth Transformation and Empowerment. He also serves with the Servant Leadership Program as a programs lead. He's also a former student of Makerere University, where he graduated from at undergraduate level. I want to welcome him officially to the Youth Roundtable. You're most welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be part of this panel, and I'm so glad that I'm here today.
We always look forward to having you on the Youth Roundtable.
It's a pleasure that I'm finally here, and I want to promise that the best shall be.
Close to me as you move from the Honorable Molly Bryan is my brother, Honorable Kajimu Henry. Kajimu Henry is the representative for government students at Kyambogo University. We all know Kyambogo University has had a lot of challenges in the last couple of months and I think the last 1 year in regards to enjoyment of their civil rights and rights to spaces in leadership. So I want to welcome you on behalf of the Youth Roundtable to the show.
I'm honored, sir. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. On my nearest left is our lawyer of the show, is my friend and someone I really appreciate for always sparing time to join us on the Youth Roundtable. He has been hosted here before with me. Join me, welcome our counsel, Nyombi Haruna. You're most welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Colleagues, today our topic of discussion is about the abductions, torture and impunity by the CDF. We all know in the previous weeks, around 2 weeks ago, the head of security at the National Unity Platform, or the head of security to the president of the National Unity Platform, that is Mr. Edi Mutwe, was arrested. And we all know the procedures for arresting someone. But it was to our dismay that the current CDF, or Command of Defense Forces, came out clearly and used one of his social media handle, disrespecting the laws of Uganda, but also abusing the human rights of an individual. That he was doing it in his own pleasure and interest. But first of all, before we come there, what I will begin with you, senior comrade Philip. As a person who has observed our state, maybe you would give us, according to you, where do you find the state of human rights and the enjoyment of civil and political rights in your context?
In my own view, you would see that yes, these civil rights organizations come out, they just end up just airing out, but at the end of the day, we feel threatened to the extent that even when you have a challenge, when they try to come out, we have been put in a state whereby you're worried that still there is no injustice that you're going to get. It is like a formality that people will come and complain that this should be done, this should be given to us, but at the end of the day, we don't get the result that we want. Because it is not the first time such things are happening. Last time when he was tweeting anyhowly about Lwelu, about General Lwelu here and there, when he was summoned from parliament, he tried to show that the parliament has nothing over him. Like it is something that is really showing us that it is like these other people have overgone beyond what they are supposed to do. They have suppressed the the human rights team, because they are like the bosses of this one. So now even those ones, they're just, you realize that even the people that are in charge of giving us this freedom, they're actually in captivity, to the extent that we feel that now they are in the point of saying, what if I lose my job? I might be pushing this, but the energy they are pushing when they are trying to show that anything can happen. So that is how I'm seeing. So we are actually not in a better state. We are moving towards a worst state with how we are seeing things moving.
The Honorable Molly Brian, one of the reasons I have interest in you, you were a student or you were a graduate of IT and computing. You chaired a full college of computing at Makerere. You're very aware this country has a Computer Misuse Act that is tailored to control and regulate communication on some of these platforms, especially those that threaten national security. You're very aware of data ethics and the communication ethics. First of all, as a country, I want to pick your perspectives on, I think now, the challenge is now Mr. Mohozi loses the respect of addressing him as the first son. Because really, okay, what are your view on comments on the space, misuse of the space, and where do you think this is leading us to?
Thank you very much. Once again, good afternoon to our dear viewers. According to how I see the space, we understand the fact that recently we had the Computer Misuse Act passed by Parliament, and we expect it to regulate how people communicate, what procedures are people supposed to use to communicate, especially in areas that deal with national security, people's humanity and human rights, freedom. And yes, we understand the fact that there is freedom of expression, but we have seen in most cases even the security using messages tailored by people on social media as evidence of maybe intimidation, or maybe they use them as evidence, use them as aspects of arrest. Someone uses, I will see the security using a message that if maybe I shared the message mobilizing a protest, I can even be arrested before the protest because it is clear proof that I have communicated, maybe mobilizing people to have a protest. But now, according to that, it is taken as a misuse. Maybe it has been, it is a communication misuse, there have been done a communication breach, something like that. But when it comes to people in security, like our CDF, we have seen his tweets several times. He has been tweeting against, he even said he wants to capture Nairobi. He has been tweeting against Dr. Kizza Besigye, trying to expose, speaking about how he was actually forgiven for some good time. So this means that this act is not active, that it is used by specific people, especially let's say maybe the forces or the security, to do their work, but it's not regulated, that anybody can speak, and it is selective of who can be maybe held accountable of what they have communicated. Because we expect right now even our CDF to be held accountable, because we have seen him going out of humanity. He's violating people's rights. He's actually using his powers that he has. Actually, it's a misuse of power, I can say. He has communicated, he has taken it as something for pleasure for himself. So me, I personally believe that in case this act, just like they claim it is in place, then it must be operationalized, it must be active, it must be used to make sure that everybody is held accountable depending on what they communicate. Then it also puts a threat to people's freedom of expression, because we understand that we have different social media platforms where people communicate. We have some platforms that are corporate. You can't expect someone to post something like that of the CDF on LinkedIn. Maybe we have Twitter, yes. We have been seeing his posts on Twitter, we have seen people commenting on Twitter. But if his posts come out like that and nobody does anything, but other people's posts come out and they are held accountable. We have just seen Council Semakade. He was actually, he was judged basing on his communication on social media. But if if the president of Ugandan society is held accountable for that, and we have not seen anybody do anything on what the CDF has done. So I really believe that it is segregative in terms of implementation, in terms of maybe operationalizing this act. So I believe there is great need to put this act in play so that it can be fair enough to hold everybody accountable with what they are communicating.
My brother Henry, we could term the posts as threats, but they are not threats. Dr. BSJ has been arrested. He has gone through what was promised. Eddie Mutwe was in a basement speaking in Nyankole. We all saw him when he was presented to court this week. He had no beard. He looked younger. He looked swollen. First of all, as a young person in this country, what do you feel about all this?
Actually, everything that is happening in the country right now, as the youth, we are affected and totally affected. Though some people don't know to what extent are we affected. Because we know the youth, the building blocks of the country, because we are the next generation. And everything that is happening now is actually making our future more dull, not more bright. Because if at all right now I cannot come out to speak anything, or I'm always moving in fear, not because I've done something wrong, but because I'm afraid. I know that at any point you could be taken and no one is accountable for. You could disappear out of the society. No one is going to look for you. No one is going to follow up, because currently in Uganda, the famous quote which says, when power becomes lawless, the law becomes powerless. It is actually working in Uganda right now. Because those who are in power, the law is not affecting them. And when the law cannot affect those in power, the law then becomes powerless. So we are afraid, we are threatened, we move in fear. You can't come out and speak boldly what you're feeling. You can't come out and express your oppression, because you're afraid that at one point you could disappear. At one point they could just find your body somewhere hidden. So the youth, actually, we are in a lot of depression, because we can't speak we can't speak the truth. We can't follow our dreams. We can't do anything due to what is happening in the country. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'll come back to you, but let me come to my comrade here. Comrade, our council, Nyombi. My brother, when the current government came to power in 1986, January, a day earlier on the 26th, they promised fundamental change before they were sworn in, and on their swearing in, still on the next day, on the 27th, at the stairs of Parliament, it was one of the programs they came with was the 10-point program that aimed at restoring human rights and rule of law. Uganda as a country, since the coming of the white man, has never had a peaceful governance, or we could say hand of power since independence. But even during the white man, there was gross human rights abuse here by the colonialists. At one point, they had the kings arrested. They carried the Kabaliga out of this country. They carried the Mwanga out of this country. During the fight for independence, they carried the likes of Kamyas, were arrested and never to be found up today. We do came to the socialist agenda of the late His Excellency Dr. Milton Obote. We did come to the attacks at the Rubiri. We did still come to all these were acts. I think no one can best tell them than the people of Uganda. They have really welcomed dear visitors who have come in a different name of a prophet and ended up as a devil almost. Where do you think our history has really refused to change? First of all, looking to that history, that we have had a history where we think we have now made 2 strides forward, we go 10 strides. We thought that now we have moved, we now have leaders who are as highly educated as the current CDF even studied in the States. But the guy has proved to be more denser than their means, who never attended class. By the way of conduct. Because he disrespectful. Personally, as a person, as an individual, I had too much respect for His Excellency General Museveni and his wisdom. But I fail to believe that he can further someone who behaves in the opposite. Because he can do a lot of things, but he has some... he regulates himself to hiding in certain parameters. He can beat you up, but he beats you in hiding. At least they will beat you at night. But if someone can come out at day and he accused to castrate someone via an ex post, and you have a family and a full group of people seated in such isolation, with all that, where do you think we are not growing as a country in terms of political civilization?
Thank you so much, Ivan. For starters, I think our problem is we have failed to learn from history. Whereas people say that history repeats itself, I usually tend to take the other side, that it's only fools that repeat history. Whereas history has always happened, and we have always sometimes failed to learn from the past. Our constitution, from the preamble, what really enticed the members of the CA to promulgate our constitution, when you read our preamble, is that basing on our history, whatever we went through, the acts of tyranny, disrespect of human rights, total disregard of the law. So these people came out and they ratified the laws, the international instruments, but also included things that they all thought they would shape this country towards a peaceful one that respects human rights. Now, when you read Article 20 of our Constitution, it's talking about fundamental human rights, which are inherent. They are not supposed to be granted to us by any person. By merely being human beings, we are born and we are entitled to those human rights. Now, these are things that we should have respected. Just the basic minimum of a right of a human being. If there is an accusation you have against a person, there are procedures that one ought to follow, and at the level of the commander of the army, the chief of defense forces, at that rank, I'm very sure he knows what he's supposed to follow, the rules of the procedures that he's supposed to follow if there is any accusation against any person. But I think it's because of the impunity that's growing up in this country that's leading to this disrespect of human rights, but also taking Ugandans for granted. Afterwards, if you do this, what are they going to do? Is there anything that really that we are going to do? So this, whoever is disrespecting human rights, I think at the back of their mind, because I have power, I have the money, I have authority, Ugandans are quite disenfranchised, that they cannot have that freedom and even to speak about the wrongs, or even to encounter what they are going through in any way. And I think people are using this, they are taking this as an advantage to abuse power, to abuse the offices that they are holding, and whatever responsibility that has been given to them. And this is something that should worry all of us, because as it's standing, you realize you are going to elections, and these things have always happened. Usually when we are going into elections, and I believe the intention is always to make people fear of whatever is going to come up in the next months, because the election roadmap is out. I think in September, that's when we'll be having nominations and elections
For the president.
For the presidents.
And
Maybe in January or February, that's when we'll be having elections.
January, the roadmap.
Yeah. And I think this is just to prepare Ugandans on what's coming up. in the next general election, which is absurd. Definitely, I think we have to, it's time for Ugandans to come up, to rise up, to see that we put this to an end. Otherwise, where there is no rule of law, Professor Dicey said it's anarchy. The opposite of rule of law is anarchy. Where you disrespect the country's laws, you disrespect human rights. My brother talked about accountability for our leaders here. If you're not accountable, you cannot be held accountable for your wrongs, then definitely we are turning towards anarchy. We talked about the Computer Misuse Act and what is going on Twitter. I don't want to believe it's the CDF that's putting these things on his Twitter handle. Maybe. I want to give him a benefit of doubt. But also hold accountable those that are responsible. We have the Uganda Communications Commission, which is a regulatory body for whatever is whatever is being posted on these social media spaces. If you take the examples of Stella Nyanzi, who have been arrested, Council Isaac Semakade, a number of bloggers who have been paraded before the
Lumbuya
courts
is
of
actually
law.
hiding.
Yes. So many of them. If it's not the CDF, okay, as I think, can the UCC come out to tell us who this person is so that we see them? Or the CDF himself can come out and, okay, tell us someone is using my Twitter handle to post this. However, now there's a challenge that whatever is being posted on the Twitter handle, which is even, and actually it's becomes a reality. What we are waiting for is around June, because we were promised that Dr. Messenger will be hanged around June.
And
We are still waiting.
we also wait.
But this also, the fact that we were told Eddie Muto was in the basement learning Runyankole somewhere and his beard was shaved off, and just yesterday he showed up exactly how it was described on the Twitter handle of the CDF. It's what exactly happened. There's a problem. But besides just what is being posted there in regards to human rights violations, there is also a kind of language that's being used that's going to cause us problems as Ugandans. If you remember what happened in Rwanda and even some other countries, genocide, this is what we are tending to. When you read that, I think section 21 or 23 of, actually 26A of the amendment of the Computer Misuse Act is talking about hate speech. And this is what is being propagated on the X handle of the CDF. I want to quote, because I don't know whether it is him or is not. Things that are contrary to our values as Ugandans, because we believe we are a united country. But when you start sending messages that are tending to divide the country into ethnic groups, ethnic discrimination, you're inciting one tribe against the other. This is something that we should be worried of as a country. Because if someone is, this is Eddie Mutu is a Muganda, and it's okay, he's in my basement and I'm teaching him Runyankore. And by the end of last evening, as I was checking, was like, what can you do? You know? Is pointing at something, just trying to incite a certain ethnic group against the other, and we should be worried. We should hold the CDF accountable, first as Ugandans, but also even those that have got the responsibility. We have the office of the DPP, we have the police, even his father, the president, the commander-in-chief, should be able to rein in. We have the high command of the UPDF, who should rein in and put this to an end. Otherwise, where we are heading to as a country, it's really worrying. It's really worrying. You know what they say in Uganda, when you push the nose to that side, like you really push me to that hardest point, you lead me to something that you will never like. And that's where we are heading as a country. That's where my worry is.
Thank you very much, Council Nyombi Haruna, for that elaborate discussion. Henry, I'll come to you. Still as a young person,
Yes.
you've seen that this growing abuse of power by government institutions is infiltrating, that people now find it obvious to oppress other Ugandans anywhere in any other public institution because they feel accountability has degenerated. We are having small gods in the country who thinks they can do what they can do and go without accounting for it. Who think issues of intimidation and threats is one of the way they are going to take over administration of this country. You did point out an issue where you say as young people we are not enjoying our spaces, we are in intimidation, but still we need to survive and we shall need to fight on. Looking at what our lawyer has given us from the legal background, I want to pose to you as a young person, first, where does it leave you, even in despite that you highlighted the fear, but also in these media spaces of communication, because the speech has turned into hate and offensive in nature.
Yes.
But also there are circumstances that even at universities, where even when it is not via media, but it has been more real and live on. Do you think as young people, you have where you could really push to see that there will be a change besides the elections? Because even in elections themselves, I'll point out an example of Kawempe North. You saw where journalists who report reality were pushed up to date. Some of them have never returned to duty. What is your take on that?
Actually, on that point, when you see the impunity that is happening in the country right now, it has went as far as even it has reached institutions, for example, the universities. Just because on the national level, for example, the CDF, CDF, right, can come out and do what he wants and is not accountable for. It has reached that point that even in universities, to the level of a vice chancellor, he can do anything and he knows that no one is going to touch me because he has the regime or the government serving behind his back. So as young people, we can no longer come out and express what is right. Yes, you know that this is wrong, what is happening, we need to speak up, but you know that at the end of the day, when you come out, you're going to be isolated out alone, you're going to be punished, you're going to be given any punishment beyond reasonable doubt. And it's not that you're wrong, it's not that what you're speaking is not the truth, or that you've said something absurd, but it is because they know that they are doing the wrong things, but again, they go on doing them because they are supporting them. But as a younger generation, and we are the building blocks of the nation, we shouldn't just look and leave it as that, we are used to that, being oppressed. Let us just live like that. Let us just leave it. After all, I'm alive. Yes, you know that you're alive, but you know there are some needs. There is some injustice happening in this country right now. I could be the Eddie Mutwe of tomorrow. You could find yourself in that point where Eddie Mutwe was lucky because he's well known. Mm-hmm. People came out, they fought for him, even the Katikiro of the Uganda. Mm-hmm. He came out and spoke about Eddie Mutwe. But me, myself, I could be a foot soldier. You find yourself in such a situation, you're in such wrangles, and you end up in prison for life. Mm-hmm. No one is looking for you. No one is even caring about you apart from the parents. Because at the end of the day, your parents, for them, they are what? They are affected. So as young people, we can use this chance to come out and in solidarity, because the challenge with Ugandans and mainly the youth, they are in that they are in that state of fear, total fear, where they can't, for example, formulate groups and fight for their rights, because now the order, it's beyond their, actually the old, for example, our parents are like, now it's you, the youth, to save the country, because we are now on the climax, right? So for the youth, I think it's better we come out, we work together. We could go for international organizations. There are international organizations that could help us, but they are waiting to see, are we affected? Because if you're seated and you're not talking about the issue, then how can they come out? How can they come to fight for you? But if we go out and show the operation that is happening in the country, if we show our uncontentedness about the situation in the country, we could be helped, and we shouldn't be afraid of anything. Because one thing I'm sure of, if you're speaking the truth, the heaven is always behind your back. You know that at the end of the day, you have a place waiting for you in heaven, because even God wants that person who speaks the truth. So as the youth, we shouldn't be intimidated, we shouldn't be afraid, we shouldn't be denied that freedom of speech, because it's a fundamental human right to speak, as long as you're speaking the truth. So the call out to all the youth is they should turn up. They shouldn't be afraid, because this is a testing moment happening in our country right now. But it's us, the youth, who should form the revolution against everything. Because we see these injustices and we just keep quiet. You see, they take a demotor, you say, after all, it's not me who's taken. Are you saying that you're not taken? You resemble a chicken. Where when a farmer comes in the chicken house and picks a chicken, another one says, I'm lucky, they've taken me. Again, they are going to come for you at one point. So at the end of the day, you need to work together and fight against the what? A common ideology that is affecting us as the youth. Thank you so much.
I do appreciate you. I think most of us youth today, we fear heaven, that we are more inclined maybe to hell. I doubt. Because when you speak of heaven, certain people even think working for heaven requires you to do certain things, which fighting for your rights is not part of. My brother Brian, President Museveni once made the quote, you could Google it there, that God is so busy serving the whole world that he has no time for idiots in Uganda. You will Google that quote there. It was made by President Museveni in one of his famous quotes about God. And as a person who is an advocate for youth transformation and empowerment, but also with servant leadership program, could it be true that this is the time that God has really been so busy that when an idiot is really intimidating Ugandans, he has no time to save us? Because we do believe this country's motto is for God and my country. But the president once said God is so busy for the whole world that he has no time for idiots in Uganda.
Thank you very much, Ivan. I love the fact that you have stressed the truth that our motto is for God and my country.
And we fear to go to heaven, yet we say for God and my country. I think on the show only Henry here has brought the issue of heaven. Most people here, when you talk of heaven, they feel offended.
First of all, I will first of all bring to your notice that I am called by God. It's a calling to serve. I have always served. That's why you see even the name, the Servant Leadership Fellowship Program. Advocacy for youth transformation and empowerment. When it comes to, actually even the Bible says, do not waste your time when you're youth. Use your time when you're youth. That's why I like working with the young people, because this is the time that the youth are active. They have the potential, they have the capacity to influence change, to bring the change that they want, to fight for the change that they need. They are the people who are supposed to shape the nation. So if we are in a period whereby even the leaders have gone against our country motto, because every Ugandan is very proud of their motto. if I am speaking to anybody, if I'm making any public speech, at least I'll end with for God and my country. When I was a leader at Makerere University, and I was I was a college chairperson of the College of Computing.
Is
and
it for
Information Science.
fashion or you want to go to heaven?
Not going to. By the way, heaven is the goal. We all work to go to heaven. If we understand the fact that God can even punish you for going against the assignment He has put on you. So if God has put the assignment on us to serve the people, then it means we have to do that service.
And that is what leadership is.
That is what leadership is all about. Yes, if you are a leader who cannot improve the level or the standard of those you are leading, then you're not a leader. You're actually a parasite. Because if you are looking at the state of the nation, that the young people who we expect to be building the nation, contributing to the development of the nation, actually who are even the majority, have been put in that state of fear and intimidation. Last year we had the protest against corruption. I happened to participate. We went to street and protested against corruption, and we were now the bad people. We were arrested, beaten up by police, taken to CPS, profiled, taken to court, and remanded to Luzira prison.
Serve the cake.
Went to prison, and I was in prison for 12 days. Then sleeping on the floor, by the way. Actually, if you now start speaking about now the status of the prisons of Uganda, now that's again a different topic. But I was in prison for 12 days, brought back to court and granted bail. Up to now, I'm still going to court for standing to speak against corruption. So this means that we are in a situation whereby our country has been put in a state of who is that one speaking up? And when people come up to speak up, they are intimidated, they are silenced, and this is threatening the leadership of the youth and the young people out there. But now, this is a call to the young people. Just as my brother said, this is the time. The time is now that the young people are supposed to come up, identify and understand that we are in a state where our country is deteriorating, our country is going down, but it is us who are supposed to bring this on board, who are supposed to come up and build our nation. It's just a matter of solidarity, working together and identifying what exactly we must do. We are the servants, we are the leaders, and we are the people who are supposed to build this nation. Therefore, just as you said, heaven is the goal. As we work towards going to heaven, we must work according to the will of God, the calling of God, and the direction of God, that we are supposed to serve the people, improve the lives of the people, help the underprivileged, those who are maybe the marginalized. And this comes up only if we stand up to speak against what is bad and advocate for what is good.
Thank you very much. As we go for a break, Philip, I'll pose you this question which you respond, I think, after our break. Our history has been really challenged by a generational curse of us never having peaceful transitions of power in form of leadership, of us always being led by people who never want to leave power peacefully, or characterized by violence, deaths. Every election has just exponentially increased the number of people who die in an election. But I want to point to you, one of the strategic shapes this country took was in the 1980. There was a party here which was led by a gentleman called Mr. Yoweri Museveni, called the Uganda Patriotic Movement. Its slogan was clean leadership, unity and peace. Unfortunately, it was unpopular that the only MP seat it went for, it lost to Sam Kutesa in Mbarara. And its being unpopular attracted young people who thought that the statement clean leadership, unity and peace was going to erase the previous actions of the late Idi Amin and Milton Obote. Many of these young men left Makerere University, who include Major Mugisha Muntu, the Nyakairima Rondas, the late Major Kazoras, Kanyankoles, and many. Some have really today, like the Colonel Dr. Kiza Besigye, live in regret of what they sacrificed for. As we come back from the break, I want to pick your views of where do you think as a country we have to face if we are to completely deal away with this history. President Museveni had been part of the problem, he then became a solution, he went back to becoming part of the problem. Should we have the same circular trend, or there is a time as a country now need to sit down and deal with our past and begin a new chapter. See you after a short break as we return with the Youth Roundtable. Thank you very much.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create, and publish digital media or to access and use computers, other electronic devices, and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
You are most welcome from the break. As we went for our breaks, I was with the Honorable Philip. Honorable had shared to you a brief background of, I don't know whether we should call it our country's generation curse, because these were the very issues that tormented our grandparents. Issues of abductions, issues of torture, issues of people who never respect the rule of law, issues of tribal sentiments, issues of hate speech. The very issues, very many years later, are affecting an educated generation. I just wanted to pick your opinions on that.
Thank you so much, moderator. I think before we even reach into that, we should first consider how the country is almost forgetting so fast on some of the things that they promised this country. You had highlighted that Museveni came when he was promising hope before we went for that break, and now again he has gone back to the state of making us lose hope.
In his coming, he promised clean leadership, unity, and peace, because the challenge of this country was clean leadership. And I don't know if this is the clean leadership.
It definitely doesn't become the clean leadership. Like, I think that is where by now I can agree with a statement that a good dancer must know when to leave the stage. Because when it was beginning, people were starting to see that there was that hope. But right now, we have again gone back to the point whereby some people are even rethinking, does it also mean that we should also go to the bush for us to bring back the clean leadership, which might not be the case. Because we would not love to see bloodshed again. But I am wondering why it happens that every time when we are approaching the election period, the general elections for the country, that is when you start seeing such things happening. To me, I see like they're trying to inflict fear. Now, to the people that are willing to bring in that change, that this time around we can bring in the change, we can emphasize on on enforcing to make sure that we can have a parliament that can be in position to effect laws that support the people, not the ones that support our bosses, like the president. Yesterday was on the Express, and then I saw one of the clips of Museveni when he was saying that that was around 1980s there, in the late 1980s, that when a son of a leader goes wrong, he should not be handled depending on the father or whatsoever, but they should handle him as a person, not as a son, that has a person. But is the same person who is controlling this person from being handled. He gave him an office that we expect that he can still be held accountable. But it is becoming very hard for we the common people to handle him. He has a right to appoint, and he has a right to also remove such a person from that office.
The
What is
chief
it delaying?
accounting officer.
Yes, what is it delaying? What is it thinking of? What is it waiting for to respond into such? Because it's not the first time he's seeing this. He's inflicting pain into us. But I would love to say one thing, that the falling of the yellow leaf should be now the warning to the green one. Because we have been seeing the things happening. We have seen that our ancestors have also gone through the same draconian system. They have surfaced all those challenges. And again, even when we are seeing this country, that he gave us, he promised us clean leadership, but again, he has gone to the dirty leadership. It means that the young generation should be seeing that now we are already threatened, that if these people are using this to go the other side, that is again the same thing that is going to happen. But to me, I have a feeling that what we should do right now as a country, most especially when I'm focusing on the opposition side, that I think how we have seen things happen, it is not new to us. That from the time the likes of Kanokisa Besigye decided to defect from the system, they exonerated themselves from the oppressor, and they said that this is not what we're fighting for. I don't think whether we should be using the same tactics. The opposition is showing us that they're also comfortable in that comfort zone of just being in opposition. Every time we're also planning.
Actually, they were also enjoying X space, so they were attacked in X where they were enjoying.
Exactly. So now you realize that we're just preparing ourselves for elections, but when we know that every time when we're approaching towards election, this is what happens. So that is what opposition is doing. We are preparing ourselves in that state. We should get out of that bracket, and we think that how should we have a broader thing right now? Just like how we are asking on what do you think we should do? I think in Uganda right now, we can no longer, even if we had brought a new president right now, with the way the system is, with the way we have seen political parties knocking themselves here and there, you would realize that we would have just changed the name of a person, but we would be having the Musevenism in them. So we needed to actually change one thing, and that is the system. We need the political hygiene entirely in this country. It's to the extent that we change the entire system. It is the system. That's why if you look at the Americans, the system is built to protect these individuals. That even today, when you voted maybe a chicken as a president of the US, they would still serve the purpose of the people. But in this country, you would realize that people would run again back to those sentiments of serving people that they are affiliating themselves with, that I must give someone that I know to be in that. But today we have seen what has happened to I can cite an example like Eddie Mutwe, but also going to the institutions, because maybe Eddie Mutwe is not. But you can see the captivity that is even entering into our institutions, that these bosses, the people that they know, first of all, that the big man is the one who appointed them. I can give an example of Chambugo University, that the vice chancellor knows that I have powers, I am protected by the president who appointed me into that office. And since his interests can be protected through that, he wants to feel like he owns the university. You cannot wake up from nowhere and you're suspending a guilty president because he has wrote to you that these are the grievances that students are facing. So when we talk of these things, we have to go through that. I was among the people that they had to put into custody. I was arrested just because I had gone to check on these people who were taken to Jinja Road. They were saying that why is it that every time when you come, every time when there is chaos in Chambugo University, you're the one who comes to check on these people. Has it now reached to that state that you should not check on your friends when they are arrested? You subject me to prison, like we're detained, and the torture that we got from there, it is actually very hard for me to speak right now. That I feel like every time the only chance that I have is to stand for the truth, because even as we are speaking right now, these students are facing one challenge. You already took us to court. You're saying that we should follow the court process. But again, you've given us suspension letters. That is a double punishment. But all these amalgamates because like all this comes in because these people have developed wings because they have a feeling like their God is protecting them. So we're also seeing that it is the same thing that is happening with the CDF. He knows that his God is protecting. Who is his father in this case? So for him, he has the upper hand. So what we need in this country is to think beyond this. And I am calling upon each and everyone who has got a chance of standing against this, that it actually takes a sacrifice of a few individuals to continue pushing for this, not until we achieve. When we are seeing this happening, it's already a threat to us. Like they are trying to, they're also scared. As we feel like we are threatened, but they're also threatened. That's why they are trying to bring this. They are trying to suppress so that at least we cannot be in position to expose the light. We should not fear to speak about these things. Time will come whereby they will no longer have any room. They will no longer have any chance of doing whatever they are doing, but just to accept and give up. And they say that it is time we give back the power to the people. But I want to agitate that let the people wake up. Not every time. Yes, today you're seeing the same people doing this. But when it comes to the time of elections, they will come and compromise your brains with just mere salt, a bar of soap. And then you end up selling your integrity because of that. Can we get our conscience and mind of the generation to come? Some of us, when you already have children, and you're not thinking of how you're going to help them, do you want them to face such a challenge? I feel like that is what we're supposed to do. Thank you.
We do appreciate your submissions. Chief, I know you're called the Honorable Moi, but just like in our circles, you enjoy referring to me as General. I do love the chief name a lot. I do appreciate my senior Philip. He raises issue of political hygiene. Uganda has never showered for the past 100 years. I don't know whether it will need hot water or cold. The Uganda have hubs for cleansing. If Uganda is political hygiene needs to be showered, we may need to use certain hubs to cleanse Uganda of the dirt. But key of the issue he raises is consciousness. Is why I was interested in having you here to see that part of the space they are now also exploiting to regulate and intimidate, like the Honorable Kajimo points out, is that a digital space, because they discovered it is just like they stated in Article 29 of the Constitution. When they are trying to control freedom of expression, and it is something that really causes a lot of pain, because we cannot say, like I pointed out, of the generational curse we have been having as a country. Already we have been having things in reality that we have been struggling, like the Honorable Philip has really stated. But now they are using these online platforms to justify. They have made the laws double standard in application, that a Semakade can be threatened by Sekana, but them who are oppressing the entire country, the country can't return against them. Do you think there are any other alternatives? Because one thing I'm looking about here is that the fear and the intimidation disempowers certain people from enjoying their rights, but also gives others too much rights over others, whereas this has been the reality in real life. When people begin to justify them using these platforms, it really alienates a big section of our young people who are running into these spaces. And also, where does it leave us in the global internet community, or the global cyber community, or the global information community? Which image does it paint us?
Thank you very much. You discover that we are in a world of advancing technology, that we are having different social media platforms that come up, and this world is called the global village, that I can use the media to communicate to the entire world in just a second.
In Romania, presidential election was cancelled because of a TikTok video.
So if we are in that advancing that world of that digital world, that things can happen within a second, then it means that if we are having a country that is in charge of actually entirely everything, we have the Uganda Communications Commission. It's a government body regulated by the government, regulates everything that comes with media. Actually, that body can even close this civic space. It means they even control whatever communication is supposed to be made. We understand that we are in a world whereby, in a country whereby we have laws and regulations, but in a point whereby we expect these national bodies to give the a common ground, equal ground to everyone. I can give an example. Just as we are heading to the elections, during election time, election period, you remember that the media is always off. And Ugandans have always asked, if there is no way you can communicate using the media, how are those electoral, like the results conveyed to the what? To the tallying center. So it means that even when we are in a country where we expect equal rights, the rights of other people have been suppressed by those in power. If we believe that we are in a country of democracy, where things are supposed to happen openly, transparently, and everybody is held accountable, then let everything be open. Let the space be open. But if there is a period whereby some other people are suppressed by especially those in power, those in government, then it means as a country, we don't have the democracy to really expect, or they speak about.
Ivan, there's something that Philip pointed out that maybe it's something pertinent that we must look at the outright capture of institutions, that these institutions are becoming powerless. To the extent
because
that
I saw UCC telling journalists to go to Chankwanza. I don't know what a journalist should go to train in Chankwanza. That is the only program, and it was an instruction by the same posts of the CDF to UCC that he wants journalists, after beating them in Kawempe, those he had beaten, to go for a training in Chankwanza. And then UCC also stupidly, as if they have no brain, also write a letter to journalists that you're needed for training.
So where are you having institutions captured, you make them dysfunctional, and I think this is deliberate. You're talking about the UCC, in all the things that are happening, the reckless statements by the CDF on Twitter, you would expect UCC training, the actions of torture, these are contrary to our laws. Article 21, the confinement, detention of someone for more than 48 hours. You really expect the police to come out clean, but they have nothing to do because they are under the capture of the powers that be. Look at the Human Rights Commission, where it should have come out. It should have come out and talked about these issues that are happening in our country. But of course, there's an appointing authority. There are people in a certain class that believe they are over others and they are above the law, and they have overrun the institutions, the state institutions that are being put in place by the Constitution. So there's that kind of systemic capture of our institutions to make them redundant, to make them dysfunctional. And so whoever is in that position, they cannot do anything. It takes me back to what our colleague was saying. Maybe Ugandans should go to call out people to come and help us. I think this is our problem that we have to deal with as Ugandans. I'm glad he's running an organization, Advocacy for Youth. Transformation. This to rally young people and Ugandans as a country, because this is our problem. And we must find solutions for our problems without necessarily calling on to someone to come. Let's get empowered. Let's empower ourselves. And how do we address these challenges? If people have come out to bring about this impunity, I know there are apologists everywhere. You go to the digital spaces, each and every space, you'll find those that are in support of this operation. How do we deal with these people? How do we address the CDF to bring him to order as Ugandans? I think that's something that we should be looking at. And as we are looking at the forthcoming elections, how are we going into this election with all the things that are happening? Rule of law. How do we bring back our country? How do we own it as Ugandans? Back, how do we bring back that country to ensure that, okay, we are part of this country, we own it, and at least we have a say in our country for whatever is happening in this country. That should be our concern as citizens.
Why I was interested in Chief is that most of these posts are causing distractions and mind shift of enjoy, because Henry goes to X, he wants to get some vibe of likes, follow, if he's an Arsenal fan, see how things are moving. Then from nowhere, he sees someone who is threatening to kill other Ugandans. Apart from hate, apart from fear, apart from intimidation, his mind shift from the happiness, maybe for the reasons or to communicate, that took him to X platform changes. He now also has to look for a defensive mode. Of either you don't follow, you don't do this, or you always follow because you're scared of what comes next. You want to be in a plan. You are, when am I running? When the Chigai finally reaches Butabika stage, for me, when am I running?
Actually, like I said, that the social media has made the world a global village. That even people even got social media to do advertising. We expect people who are doing businesses, people who are running organizations, people who are running...
Because such statements have implication on those doing business.
Exactly. So if I am going to X and I expect to run my business, I am doing advertising, what I am, maybe my services, my products and what. Then whatever is trending on Twitter was kind of go. Whatever you're posting is even over being shadowed by intimidation. Social media now reaches a time of losing meaning. That we expect, just like the word social brings people together, where people can interact, people can communicate, people can exchange ideas. But now it puts it in a picture that even what has been posted there, you even fear to comment. You see people's comments, and you're like, what is this? You even see people you expect to have sense supporting what has been posted, and you really believe that it is something against human rights. So if we are in, I was saying, if we are in a country whereby we have national bodies like the Uganda Communications Commission that need to regulate how information is being conveyed on media. By the way, UCC has the capacity to block that account. UCC has the capacity to bring out something that maybe a formal writing that condemns that act. But we are just saying that the UCC is silent. It is a national body. We even have a new act. It is just actually newly passed act about the misuse. But nothing is being done. This creates now a picture that now this country is not equal. Like even when like you see how he talked about the issue of institutions. We have had in institutions whereby institutions have groomed the leaders of this country. We understand the fact that even when it comes to recruitment in national leadership, it has started from these institutions of learning. I have been at Mackay University. I have been a leader at Mackay University. But I have seen even the prominent leaders now, they give, people confess, I have been a leader at Mbara University, I have been a leader at Chambago University, I have been a leader at Mackay University. So if we are reaching that level of the country suppressing institutions, bringing them down, then it is very possible that possibly the state is scared of the upcoming generation that could even come up through the same steps they came in through. We understand that we have some members went to the bush, but not all those who are in government now went to the bush. We have had these leaders who have been nurtured through the institutions. So now all this coming to the digital space, it now threatens even the institutions. That even when people would come up to speak, when people would come up to express themselves, people would feel like they need to grow. Now, like I am a program director of the Servant Leadership Fellowship Program. We expect to get out there to institutions, work with guild leaders, work with young leaders in different associations. By the way, in institutions, some of us only look at guild leadership, but we have also associational leadership. We have clubs in schools. We have societies in schools, in institutions.
The bosses of universities were called class coordinators. They could make you fail graduation.
Exactly. And now the class representatives, we have class representatives in universities. Those are the people who even shape the academics
them,
of
you
the
may
people.
not graduate.
Yes. They are following up with the lectures, they are following up with the attendance, they are following up with the coursework.
They refuse to submit your coursework.
If they don't submit your coursework, then you don't what? You don't graduate. And that's what we call the servant leadership. Those are actually the real servants, because they touch the intention of the people in the institutions. Because everybody expects a student to graduate from a university. That's what everybody expects. So if there is somebody who is directly responsible to what took you to the university, then those are those class coordinators. And we expect this to go viral when we are using social media. Because we are supposed to reach institutions, we're supposed to publish what we are doing, we're supposed to call upon members to come and join the fellowship program, we're supposed to nurture leaders, we're supposed to train them in leadership. Above all, people also need to understand that leadership is different from politics. The leadership is different from political party associations. We have just had a discussion and someone tells you, we have good people in NRM. Even when people say NRM government maybe has done more harm.
No, but we are born in the same families at the end of the day.
Exactly.
This week you will go and find a man running for NRM chairman. All the children are nope.
Exactly. So that means that leadership is not all about inclination to the political party. But so we need to put that in people's understanding, that somebody's sense of belonging, maybe because it says that bad company corrupts good character, that's biblical.
But I think Uganda's challenge, we are dealing with parenting here on the show today. Museveni being a parent.
Bad parent.
Now that's what you're saying, that a bad company corrupts good character. So you can feel like you see that, like you said, Museveni came in giving hope for
Clean leadership,
unity
and peace.
And
when he ran against Kutesa, he lost. He was the last.
So you can imagine that when he brought that promise to the Ugandans, Ugandans felt it, they saw it, they appreciated.
No, Ugandans never. He lost and went to the bush.
So after losing and going to the bush, he felt like he was restoring the peace, which at some point Ugandans said the peace came. They said we were peaceful, but reached a time whereby it has now deviated from what he promised, what he brought, and it's now deteriorating to the extent that it's now losing meaning. People may feel, yes, we have the UPDF to protect our country from maybe external attacks. That's now what we can say. But it has now become a problem now to the Uganda that they are supposed to protect. So now, like you were saying, the good things that were brought are now being washed away by what's now currently going on. The Ugandans are now feeling like whatever hope that had been brought,
have a circular system.
We are now going back to where we are now going back to where it has been. So it's something like a hypocritical move. So someone brings in something just to shadow or to cover up what we
don't want to go to heaven.
Exactly. So now, like you said, that parenting, we expect we expect the president of Uganda, who is the father to the CDF, to instill what he believes he was bringing into his son, because it is his son now who is the chief of defense forces, and the purpose of the EPDF is to protect Ugandans and their property. And now we are now seeing that it is now the UPDF that is now torturing the Ugandans instead. I am telling you the fact, if those guys get you, they can really manhandle you. So if the people who are supposed to protect the Ugandans are now the people who are torturing the Ugandans, then it means the president has now failed to pass on what he felt he was bringing to those who are under him, those who are under his leadership, those he has influenced. Now, that now brings up a picture to the Ugandans that we are now supposed to reflect ourselves. Let's get back to where Uganda is supposed to be, how we expect Uganda to be, and how we expect this nation to be run. And when we get to understand that, then to now get back to even our parents, those in leadership, now the political parties, to instill that leadership, that mentorship in the leaders, that when we are looking for something good, when you're looking for a better governance, when you're looking for better leadership, then this is what you ought to do. Not people who are going to do things for purposes of enjoyment, happiness, something like that, especially if it's against the rights of the people. Now, finally, maybe on that, we have the Uganda Human Rights Commission. I am very, very, very sure that the Uganda Human Rights Commission has always over and over seen what is happening. We expect the Uganda Human Rights Commission to help people in leadership to understand people's human rights. We expect the Uganda Human Rights Commission to protect the people, to protect those who are being tortured, to protect and also make people understand that what is happening in terms of human rights violation is wrong and advise on what should be done. Recently, we saw a letter from Human Rights Commission when they were ordering the CDF to release Eddie Mutwe. That is an action that everybody said there is still room for improvement. That finally you have now come up. Because it's the first time they are coming up. But if that's the first time they are coming up, and yet they have been seeing this, Uganda Human Rights Commission must be something that is independent, that cannot be influenced by state, a body that cannot be influenced by state, whose actions cannot be influenced by any other, but they must be doing the right thing in protecting the rights of the people. We expect Uganda Human Rights Commission to have come up by now about the Chambogo students who have been suspended. Because it's freedom of expression. They expressed themselves, they were not violent, they were not vandalizing property, they were speaking out. We expect the Uganda Human Rights Commission to have come up during the anti-corruption protests. We had people who were coming up to speak out against corruption. They were peaceful, and actually they actually acted according to the president. The president said, I am calling upon everybody who can join me to fight corruption. And the young people understood the best way to join the president to fight corruption by speaking up. We expect the Government Commission to have come up in such aspects. So this is also a call to the national bodies, Uganda Human Rights Commission, the Uganda Communications Commission, to understand, get back to their roles and perform their roles in shaping the nation and giving a sense of direction on how this nation is supposed to move, especially when it comes to aspects of communication, human rights violation, and human rights protection in Uganda.
Not forgetting the fact that they are under capture.
If they are under capture, then they have to come and express it out. If they are under capture and they can't speak it out, then it means they have allied with the oppressor. They have accepted to be part of those who are violating the rights of Ugandans.
Hope they have the power to liberate themselves if they are captured at all, as is stated.
Professor Mangusha calls it capitulation.
My brother Kajimu, we were discussing the CDF and something crossed my mind. For the few years I've seen, ever since the UPDF Act came into play, we have had several CDFs here. We may not go far as the earlies when Major Mugisha Muntu was the army commander, but we have us who are a bit heading to that sad stage. We have seen the late Nyakairima Ronda, we have seen the General Katumba Wamala is Minister of Works. General David Muhozi is a minister for internal affairs, state ministers. And then we came to the current, we have seen the Mbadi. But is the former CDF is also a minister for something trade, those small things in the state. So really, we had the culture of CDF people being men of responsibility, a man like the General Katumba Wamala, people who are unifying the country, people who are diplomatic, people who are sensitive. could we say that someone doubling as a son to the state and CDF has also compromised the running of the military and its role in administration?
Yeah, actually, when you see the things of leadership, if at all, I will start with the basics as the citizens. If you put a certain leader in his position and you see that what he's doing or he's serving isn't what you expected from him or her, you as the citizens, again, you have this right to remove that leader from that position. So when it comes to the CDF, we are not the one who put him in that position. So if the person who put him in that position sees that this person, what he's doing isn't what I expected from him, or he's doing something wrong, that same person can come out and remove him. But if the person is not coming out to remove him, it means that the person, the CDF, or Mr. Muhoozi Kainerugaba, what he's doing seems right to the person who put him in that position. Because if it was wrong, they would easily come and remove him. And the things he does, he says that we are going to do this, and you see it happen. Again, he comes out and says we are going to do this, you see it happen. It threatens us as the humans or as the citizens of the country. Because you know that when that guy says that he's going to do this, it eventually what? Happens. So he's misusing the power which was given to him instead of uprising the country. Instead, we are being ashamed. Because last time, actually, there is a show I saw somewhere. It was over in the United States. They were laughing at Ugandans. There is a certain country in Uganda where they've had a leader for 45 years. As if it is a kingdom. So we are the citizens of the country. If you go out there, they will laugh at, where do you come from? Uganda. Where you have this CDF who has been arresting. So you see that we are the ones who get ashamed at the end of the day. And these people who are doing these actions, no one is coming out to touch them. No one is coming out to account them for what they are doing. Because even the judiciary system is afraid. There have been many cases where judges come out and say that matters concerning the nation, where they try to interfere with them, they are threatened. So they are also, they live in fear. But one thing I know about threatening, actually it aligns with some biology principle we usually talk about, because I'm a biology student. They tell us that if a person is faced with something that threatens him, the body reacts in two ways. It's called the fight or flight. You either face what is threatening you, or you fly, you run away. So most of the Ugandans, when they face these challenges, they go for the flight. But there is also this fight. And that most of the times when you threaten people, it cultivates some, what can I call it, confidence. Someone reaches that point, says, I don't mind. Now if I die, I die. Instead of flying, because you know now you have nowhere to fly. You say now whatever comes, I'm ready. As long as I'm not going to be oppressed, I'm not going to face the injustices. Because it is even coming from a biology principle that when someone is faced with something of threat, he either flies the flight or fights. So this threatening of people being there that we shall attack you, you can attack this one. And one thing I know, when you attack a certain person who comes out, for example, with the freedom of speech, you can remove him, but again, they will always raise another one. You can't suppress a freedom of speech. You can't suppress someone's rights. You can't impose injustice on humans, because we know it's not right. At the end of the day, unless you're going to clear the whole world. Because when you remove this one, another one will raise. You remove this one, another one you will raise. You know that. And at the end of the day, one of the things I believe in, there is no reason as to why I would live in fear. At the end of the day, the wage of life is death. Whether you live in fear, whether you go up to 80 years, God decides that you person, you're going to leave this earth. So for us, we are not afraid. And so, this is something that should be contagious. Other youths out there, they should do the same thing, because we know at the end of the day, we will always win as long as you have God by your side. But
Amen.
just that people don't believe in themselves, they think that as long as you're fighting for the right thing, you know you have a lot of power behind you because you're right. But the current situation, the people sit, keep quiet, the judges, the judiciary system is all quiet, knowing very well that what is being done is not following the law. Because if someone is to be arrested, he has to go through the court, all that stuff. But someone comes out of a blue, takes someone and comes out, boasts that I have this person in my basement. He's there learning a certain language, this and this. And all the judges, the judiciary system is quiet, knowing very well that this is not something that is formal.
Actually, maybe. No, in the interest of time, our council here is just going to conclude. We are past time. But Council Nyombi, as we conclude, we have seen very many first sons in this country. Most are even alive. The Ronald Mwenda Mutebi, the Kabaka, was a first son. The Honorable Jim Akena, one guy whom I love so much in the Rango sub-region, he was a first son. We have the Idi Amin brothers in Chiriandongo digging cassava. We have the Yusuf Lule brother, the man with the white hair who is a former MP. We have sons to the late, I'm forgetting, Mwanga. The Mwanga, John Mwangas. We knew them as people who authoritatively respected Ugandans for ever uplifting their parents and families into power, because Ugandans feed the president. You refuse to accept. We fed them, we dressed them. They live by taxpayers' contribution to again pay taxpayers with abuse. As you conclude, what are your ending remarks and parting remarks for the show? We are almost late.
I think, yes, as we are concluding, we should be asking ourselves in whose interest some of our leaders serving. Are they the interests of Ugandans or particular groups of people? In 2019, the UPDF Act was amended, and we did not envision what the intention of the head of state was then, but now it's coming to reality that his intention was to transfer power to someone, because in that amendment, I think it's section 8 of the amendment, is more relegating most of the power of the commander-in-chief to the CDF, in administration, control, and commanding the army.
Full time,
yeah.
Actually, CDF now can overthrow the president. It's the only person who can overthrow the president.
So he's 100% fully in charge of the army. And when in charge of the army, definitely even these other institutions, like the police, can easily be overrun. I don't want to authoritatively say this, but I think the CDF is the one who is in charge of this country, depending on how things are being done. You can't tell me. Yesterday, Eddie Mto was presented before court, arraigned before court, and ideally the first thing that maybe a judicial officer would be looking at is if there are concerns about the rights of this person being abused as far as torture is concerned, basing on the Prevention and Prohibition of Torture Act. It should be the first concern to ensure that this person gets medical attention. However, just like it was in the case of Segirinya and others, the Kalpenzas, and I'm yet to find out, but I'm told this is the same judicial officer who remanded and even remanded Segirinya to court in the situation that he was in. And those who saw pictures of Eddie Mutre yesterday, he was frail, he was maimed, he appeared to be maimed and tortured. This should have been the concern of the judicial officer then. And so if he cannot act in his capacity as judicial officer, then it's pointing out something. It's pointing to something that we are yet to find, to look at as a country. We are yet to realize where are we really heading. Like I said in the first place, this is anarchy that we are heading to. And we should be really very much be concerned as Ugandans if there is total disrespect of human rights, where injustices, there are actions of injustice in this country. We should come out, like my brothers have said, we should come out, fight in whatever way, because that's also our constitutional mandate. In whatever we can talk about them. You can speak straight to the oppressor. This is wrong. How do we also deal with these institutions as well? So these are things that we, and I want to appreciate the civic space for giving us this opportunity to always come out. Because it's in one way or the other, you're empowering the young people, you're empowering the people outside there to come out, to put away that fear that is in them and say, this is wrong, and we should put this to an
Fight
end.
or flight.
Yes, that's it.
I do want to appreciate you, my panelists. Time has not been in our favor, but special appreciation to Council Nyombi Haruna for always spending time to run by and be with us on the Youth Roundtable. To our viewers, I would love to always have my brother here, Kajimu Henry. We look towards going to heaven together. It has really been a pleasure. I appreciate you for your insightful contribution towards the show. To Chief, it has been a pleasure. To my senior, Philip Emroot, it has been a pleasure. Our special appreciation to Center for Constitutional Governance, our production team, we appreciate a lot. See you next time, same place, same time. A nice afternoon.